Well, hello out there. I'm Gladys, and this is the This Is Gladys Show. And look what we have here. This is my co-host. If you've seen the show before, you know my co-host is my dog. And if you don't know what kind of dog this is, well, this is an apricot poodle, and his name is Marco. I think of him as sort of being my answer to Andy Richter. That's Conan O'Brien's sidekick. And, you know, I think they sort of look alike. Should I call you Andy? You really look like him, since we had a summer cut for Marco. And the summer is coming, and our show today is going to be about summer care for doggies. And in a little while, we're going to meet my vet and Marco's vet, Dr. Alan Epstein. And later on in the show, we're going to meet my internist, Dr. Edwin Salsitz, and we're going to meet his Rottweiler, Marco's best friend. And doesn't Marco look terrific? He didn't look terrific last week. Last week, I woke up at 3 in the afternoon, when I usually get up, and Marco was lying by my feet, and his eyes were like this. He couldn't see, and he was scratching his head, and I got so frightened. And then he got up to walk, and my God, he was like staggering, oh my God. So I quickly called our favorite vet, Dr. Epstein, who was, of course, in surgery, because he's a very busy vet. And I was frightened, because I guess I get more worried about my doggie than I do about myself, like all of us. And his nice receptionist, Miss Michelle, said, oh, just put a little warm compress on the eyes and bring him in, which I did, and Dr. Epstein squeezed him in, and guess what? He was itching and scratching, and I was a bad mommy. I didn't put his flea collar on, and with the right pills, Marco is fine. And Marco is fine because Marco has the best vet and the right vet, and we're going to be talking to my friend and vet, Dr. Alan Epstein. Hi, Dr.
Hello, Gladys.
Epstein.
Hi.
You look bright and red and cheerful.
Bright and red and cheerful.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on again.
Are you going to help us tell the people out there what to do with their doggies for the summer? Because we help them with winter care, and
That's
Marco
right.
had a little sweater. And
Right.
now it's the summertime. So what about fleas and ticks and bathing and traveling and heartworm stuff?
You want that all in one sentence, Gladys?
I want that all in 3 minutes, because
Excuse
that's
me.
all the
That's all the time I
we
have.
We have 10 minutes to do this.
Well, yeah, you might recall that we did I think our first segment, right, about winter problems for dogs?
Winter care.
Well, summer has its own peculiarities, and it's a time of increased activity for all of us. We're out of the house, we're mixing, we're getting around, we're traveling, and the same is true for our dogs. So one basic rule would be, since a dog is going to be out and around, interacting more with other dogs, get the vaccinations up to date. Make sure your dog's vaccines are up to date. A lot of dogs get boosted in the spring.
Is there a time that the time is now? Because I know that you're very busy. Is there a certain time that you should have them? Is it ever too late to get your dog vaccinated?
Well, most of the vaccines are given yearly, and it really depends on where you started the regimen. Let's say you had your dog first vaccinated for something in the fall, then really the time to boost would be in the fall. But for a lot of dogs, it does turn out that vaccinations come due in the spring, and it's a perfect time to have them boosted, so they begin the summer with their peak immunity. And that way, if they interact with other dogs and the other dogs aren't healthy, chances are less that they'll catch specific diseases.
And with respect to, I was in the pet store just before I came over here, because I was curious about the products, and I see all these different products for fleas and ticks.
Yeah,
you can wash them, you can spray them, and maybe you can tell us a little bit also about a new pill. There's always a wonder pill, and this wonder pill, it's called Program, right? And you just give it, and if you could just tell us a little bit really what to do, fleas and ticks, and maybe examine the dog here.
Well, yeah, fleas are a problem. And one thing I'd like to call to everybody's attention, most people tend to think that Manhattan is concreted and asphalted over, and therefore there are no fleas, and nothing could be further from the truth. First of all, there are trees around, there's soil around the trees, there are parks, but even if you walk your dog on the streets of Manhattan, there are going to be fleas right along the curb. They will have dropped off from an infected dog, and they're just waiting for a new host to jump up on. So they are definitely a problem. And dogs really vary in their response to fleas. The average dog really isn't too troubled. He may kick and scratch a little bit, but there are a lot of dogs who are allergic to fleas, and the bite of the flea is intensely itchy for dogs like that, and they will go after themselves. I'll tell you what, why don't we get Marco up? Marco, you're always such a willing
Marco loves you.
specimen here. Marco,
He
it's
loves
all
you.
right.
Okay,
Yes,
Marco, Marco, listen to you. Step
Poor
on the
Marco.
table.
Every time he looks at me, I have a needle in my hand. I'm always
It's
making
true.
his life miserable. He has no reason to think anything positive about me. Dogs can itch a lot during the summer anyway. There are any number of allergies dogs can get that can make them scratch at their faces, at their paws, at their bodies in general. But very characteristic of fleas, if a dog has a flea problem, meaning a sensitivity to flea bites and gets itchy from the fleas, they tend to scratch at the back half of their bodies, especially right up here where I'm holding Mark, right around Marcus, right around the tush here, what's called the tail head area. If you think your dog might have fleas, this is a perfect area to run the hair back. Take a look, see if you see anybody running through the hairs. Take a look and see if there are little peppery black things right in the coat by the skin.
Can we, Dr. Epstein, can we, so they're, I mean, I always never knew what color they were.
They are very small to begin with. It's hard to judge the color. They're generally dark looking. If you look at them carefully, they're about the size of an ant, maybe a little bit smaller. They're kind of a dark amber color.
So would it be, I know later on we're going to have Chunky the Rottweiler
Yes.
on, and he's a big black dog. Would it be more difficult to find?
Oh yeah,
it
sure.
would.
It's a lot easier to look at Marco's coat here and judge to see whether or not he has fleas. But this would be one area, very characteristic area where Marco might go after himself if he had a flea allergy. He might also go at the backs of the thighs, the inside of the thighs, maybe the lower abdomen. But in general, flea problems in dogs tend to be hind-end problems. As far as flea products are concerned, Marco has a flea collar on.
We just put it on now
Okay,
because
all
I've been a bad mother.
Well, now is the
put it on
good time. Now that the weather is beginning to warm, it's a good time to get the flea collar on. I would have more faith in a flea collar for a dog of Marco's size than I would a dog of Chunky's size, who you're going to meet later in the show. Chunky is a very large dog, and I do not think a flea collar, per se, would be effective for him. For a dog like Chunky, a big Rottweiler, maybe a flea spray would be a better product. When you get a collar, it's a good idea to get it out of its little bag and let it air out for a day or so, so it's not quite so potent, not quite so aromatic. And then put it on. Adjust it so you can always fit a couple of fingers underneath the flea collar so it's not too tight, and cut off the extra flea collar, let's say an inch beyond the buckle, so there isn't too much chemical on your
Can I
dog.
interrupt you in just
Sure,
1 minute?
sure.
It's I had bought a flea collar in the box, last year,
Yeah.
and I thought I could use the same flea collar again this year. Is that
Well,
you have to replace it,
It
right?
depends on the product, and it was sealed in the bag, so it might still be potent.
Okay.
If it were laying around out in the open, I would definitely say that it would have lost
So
its
it's a good
potent.
idea for every year, really, to invest in $6 and
A flea
buy
collar, if
flea
you have a
collar.
small dog, sprays, there are any number of products. Let me say one thing about the variety of products. I wish that I had faith in a natural flea preventative product. And there are people who are going to argue with me when I say this, but I don't think vitamin B works. I don't think brewer's yeast works. I don't really think that herbal collars work, things with aromatic substances like eucalyptus oil. I don't think that they're effective. Ultrasonic collars, to me, are a waste of money. So we are stuck pretty much with insecticide chemical type collars, powders, and sprays.
I think that gives us a lot of information. I just want to talk about this, Marco's in the way. So this is something that, is really very important, and everyone out there should have heartworm pills during the summer.
Right.
And if you do nothing else, go to your doctor, right? Can you?
Yeah, that's another-
Exactly. I give it to him, but what is heartworm?
Let me just stick one more thing in here, because you mentioned something before. I thought of it because these pills are once-a-month pills, and the new product you alluded to before while we were talking about fleas, it's a product called Program. There's a lot of promotion going on now about it. It's given once a month to prevent fleas from being a problem for your dog, but it is not meant to prevent fleas. Your dog can still pick up fleas, your dog can still scratch from fleas, your dog can still bring fleas into the house. What that product will do, though, is keep the flea eggs from hatching, so that the fleas can't get into the house into the environment, which is where they spend most of their life, and they can't establish themselves in your sofa or in your rug, perpetuate themselves and keep this problem going on forever and give you the burden of having the place fogged or having an exterminator in. So it's a valuable product from that standpoint, but it does not take the place of a flea preventative, like a collar, a spray, or a powder.
That's really interesting, because I was curious. The other thing, because I have allergies, I bathe the dog a lot, okay? And you told me that was okay. And not meaning every other week for him. No good?
A bit much. I like once a month.
Once a month,
Yeah.
okay. Now that the summer is coming, though, what about, should it be more frequent?
Well, common sense, really. I mean, a dog is going to be out more in the summer. There are going to be more chances for the dog to get soiled, smelly, and what have you, or run into the ocean and get full of salt water. So there's more of a reason to bathe your dog during the summer months. You do it as much as you have to and no more often. I like to shoot for once a month and not more often than that, because you might dry your dog's coat out. It might start to itch because of that. If your dog gets its leg soiled, you don't have to throw it in the bath and commit it to a full-body bath. Clean the leg.
Clean the leg.
And now that we're really dancing around, the heartworm preparation. Heartworm is not a significant problem in Manhattan, but it does exist certainly around the city, and if you go down south, it becomes a very significant problem. In general, dogs are traveling during the city. They're not just staying in Manhattan, so it's very wise to have your dog tested in the spring. It's a blood test. It involves a very small sample of blood. And once the dog is found to be negative, the dog can be started on a once-a-month heartworm preventative, which will protect your dog against heartworm and also protect your dog against other parasites that it can pick up. The product you were showing happens to protect dogs against roundworms, hookworms, and whipworms, as well as heartworm.
The other thing is, I see our segment is coming to a close.
Oh, my.
Unfortunately, but of course, you're our regular guest, and you'll be on our next show when we'll talk more about perhaps traveling with a pet, and at which time I've asked Dr. Epstein to prepare a shaggy dog story. And he's a good vet, and he's got a great sense of humor, too. So come back for another segment of Pet Talk with Dr. Epstein. You've been a great guest. You'll come back again, right?
Thank you for letting me talk on and on and on.
Oh, well, I do that when I come to you, so it's my pleasure. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with a little bit of comedy and our next guest, another doctor, Edwin Solsis. And we're going to meet Chunky. Oh, boy, wait till you see Chunky. He deserves his name. He's a Rottweiler. I hope he doesn't eat Marco, and I hope he doesn't eat me, because I'm small enough. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Small enough, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, we're back again. I'm Gladys, and this is the This Is Gladys show. And guess what? I could be famous. Look, am I holding this upright? Can you see it? Article in the Daily News. One article, two articles. And you know what it's about? It's about moi, stand-up comedy. And for those of you who don't know, but I know a lot of you know, that I'm a stand-up comedian, and I have a comedy club, my own comedy club, off Broadway in the back of a hamburger restaurant. And I was very excited because the Daily News picked me and my room to write a very favorable article about. And I have a developmental room where we develop new comics. And they say that comedy's on its way down and the comics aren't good anymore and they're very dirty, but in my room, they're clean, they're fabulous, and comedy's on the rise. So if you get a chance, come to my room and you'll see stars being born. And right now, right next to me, if my next guest weren't a doctor, I think he could be a star. And I said to my next guest, I said, you know, if you weren't an internist and devoted to medicine, I would pick you to be my co-host on a talk show. And hi, it's Dr. Ed Solsis, and we're friends, so I'm going to call you Eddie.
Oh,
Ed,
no, please,
Ed, you said Ed.
Please call me Ed, absolutely.
And I ran into you in the street on 2nd Avenue 2 weeks ago, and you weren't wearing clothes. I mean, you were in clothes. You were in running shorts.
My running
shorts. And what did I say to you? What did I say to you? I said to you, you usually say to me when I come as your patient, and it isn't take off your clothes, get undressed.
No, it isn't.
What is it? It's usually Gladys.
You got any jokes?
You got any jokes,
Got any jokes
right?
for me?
So now this is my show, and before we meet your favorite buddy, your Chunky, who's lying down there, the Rottweiler. Oh, he's so cute.
Get up, Chunky.
I'm going to make you do it. So, Ed, do you have any jokes?
Well, let's see. Do I have any jokes? Most of the jokes I've heard lately are probably going to be a little bit politically incorrect. But a patient asked me this, and I didn't have an answer for the patient. He said, "Isn't it true that men die younger than women?" And I said, "Yeah, that is true." And he said, "How come men are always standing up to give women a place to sit on the subway?" And I said, "That's a pretty logical question that I didn't have an answer for."
Well, let me tell you something. You gave me a few jokes that I use in my act, and the only way you're going to get to see that I use in my act is if you come to my comedy.
Well, you know, I've been there. I've been to the comedy club, and I really had a very, very good time. It was enjoyable and funny, and I had a very nice time there.
It's even gotten better now. The people
Yeah?
are even funnier. And
Well, I'll have to come there again then.
the thing that I want to mention is I was reading, I read an article, a study was done recently, and this fascinated me, and the study was talking about, if the audience doesn't know, it's Men's Health Week today, this
Oh,
week.
yeah?
You
Men's
aware of
Health
that?
Week?
Yeah,
No.
they're talking about, yes, they're encouraging men to go and get physical examinations, and this is the time of the year. And the article stated, which something I do know, that only 1 out of every 3 men in this country see a physician once a year. That's it. And that only 9 million men in this country see a physician every 5 years. Yet, the article said men who are dog owners bring their dog to the vet 4 to 6 times a year.
Really? Well, as
What
you
does
know,
that say?
Alan is my vet as well as your vet and friend, and I bring Chunky there at least once a year, sometimes more depending on what's happening with him, and I have no explanation for that, but one thing I've heard is that it's very hard for men, male owners of male dogs, to bring them in to be neutered. That is very, very difficult for men to do, and I had a tough time bringing Chunky in, but I did.
But you did it.
But I did,
and
yeah.
Can we say hello to Chunky now?
Chunky, come on. You want to come up
Come
here?
on, come up here.
Come on. Oh,
Hey,
that's a
Chunky,
good
Give
boy.
Aunt Gladys a big kiss.
That's a good
oh,
boy.
yes. Oh, yes. And, you know, this is the first time, and I'll tell you the truth, I try to act not frightened, but I have never seen, this is the first time
stay.
I've seen a Rottweiler, and this is a pussycat. And
Chunky's a very, very friendly, affectionate Rottweiler, and most of them are. But they've got a bad reputation, I think, because of some bad owners. But in general, the breed is a very friendly, affectionate breed.
we talked a little bit, you know, when I found out we had something in common, that you had a dog and I had, and we got the dog about the same time, and I'm
Yep.
thinking, had you ever owned a dog before, or?
Well, Chunky is my second dog. I owned an Akita for about 4.5 years in my adulthood. I
Is
never
that
had
a big dog, too, an Akita?
That's also a big dog. It looks a little bit like a German Shepherd, although it has a distinct look. They're beautiful dogs, Akitas. And that dog got old and died of natural causes about 2.5 or 3 years ago. And then I got Chunky.
Did you get Chunky? Right. When people's pets die, I
Yeah.
had a cat. I couldn't get another animal for another year, and then did it take...
I debated that, and I didn't know what to do, whether I should wait or not. And but I decided after about 4 or 5 months that I wanted to have another dog. I have a home in the country, and I particularly like being up there with a dog. In the country, it's nice to have a dog to play with, to run around with, and also to kind of protect the house and the property.
Do you
to let
think
you
I
know.
could get an invitation with Marco to your country house?
Oh, you can get an invitation anytime.
Oh, God.
Anytime. Come on up
Okay.
here.
Oh, wow. Now this, but is it how you train a Rottweiler? Because most people will train a Rottweiler to
Yeah.
attack and protect.
Well, Chunky and I went to obedience class. He did not get honors. He got low pass.
Oh.
But he'll sit and he'll get down on command. He has no training at all in terms of attacking or being aggressive. I didn't want to do that with him. I don't want him to be that kind of a dog. But he's pretty okay. He's much more exuberant, I think, than Marco. Marco is well-behaved and calm. He's excited. He's never been in the studio before.
Oh, but when I came in, he was friendly immediately, but Marco's very attached to me, overly attached. I need to bring him to the shrink, Dr. Schmertz, the doggy shrink,
Yeah.
because he will not leave my side. But would Chunky take a walk with me?
Yes, I think he would. As long as somebody is nice to him and he can be friendly with them, I get the feeling he'd leave me and be happy. He's just a happy dog.
Is there, is there something that you could show us that you've taught Chunky to do?
Well,
Is there,
he's sitting already. That's half of what he knows how to do. But I can have him get down if you want to see him do that, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to...
All right, Chunky, whoops. Oh, I'm attached here.
Oh, you have to move the mic. Okay, so...
All right, Chunky, get down. Get down. Now, my trainer taught me that was the most important command for a Rottweiler, so that whatever they're doing, whatever trouble they're getting into, if you can get them to get down and stop what they're doing, she said that was the most important command. I've worked on that. Stay down, Chunky.
Stay down. Will you stay down? You see?
Yeah, get down.
Hi, Chunky. You see, if I hadn't known and you hadn't told me and I didn't have the proof that this Rottweiler was friendly, I would be very circumspect, hesitant to be sitting like this.
Well,
because
most people are. Most people on the street are very careful. Some are very afraid. Even some people walk on the other side of the street. But if they ask me and they're dog lovers, I say he's real friendly, and he's so friendly. All he does is play and kiss everybody. I have some people in my apartment house who wait for him to come downstairs to play with him. They like him so much. And I found that this is characteristic of the breed if the dog comes from a good breeder and has a good owner.
speaking of a good breeder, I got Marco at a pet store. I'm very fortunate that Marco is very healthy. And before I bought him, tip pet store, check the dog out. Have your vet check it out before you even buy the dog. But where did you go? Where did you get this dog?
I knew somebody who was a breeder of golden retrievers, and I asked them if they knew a Rottweiler breeder, and they told me they knew one in New Jersey, and I went out to Jersey, and I picked him up when he was 8 weeks old, and I saw his 7 brothers and sisters, and his mommy and his daddy, and it was a very, very nice family, and I took him home, and he cried on the way home. I didn't blame him. And then we got close, and things worked out.
I have to tell you, I'm in love with the dog.
Oh, most people who are not afraid of him and give him any kind of a chance fall in love with him.
Well, it's like what I think makes people, we always talk about this, keeps people healthy. They always say that comedy is very good. Laughter is the best medicine. It helps, it lowers the blood pressure, the cholesterol. And the other thing is pets and dogs. And
I look at Chunky as a big ball of endorphins. And when I come home and I squeeze him and I play with him, I can feel those good feelings coming from him into me. And I think that's why people that have pets live longer, are healthier, and do better.
I believe that's true. And I know that you're like myself. You're divorced, and what happens if you met a woman and A, allergic, B, didn't like the dog, but I mean, you sort of love the woman, and what would you do? What do you do?
I tell you, the way it is for me, Gladys, if I met a woman and the woman did not like dogs in general, and Chunky in particular, I really couldn't go on with much of a relationship. He's a big part of my life, and it would have to all blend in together.
So anybody who is with you in your life would have to accept the dog.
More than accept,
More than
have to love
accept
him.
and love the dog. It's so easy to love, but yet some people would
Some people can't.
They just don't. I've walked in the streets, and it's amazing that I'll walk down with little Marco, and Marco's friendly, want to go up for a kiss, you know, and I have people that are like...
I know, and I feel sorry for those people. I really do.
sad.
I feel sorry for people who can't get a little bit of fun and pleasure by petting or, looking at a dog and have this kind of very negative reaction. I think it's not a good thing.
And what amazes me is I live in a one-bedroom apartment. I have this little dog, but you too. How do you find...
I have a one-bedroom apartment, and we go out every day and we play for about a half an hour throwing a ball back and forth. And in the country, he jogs. I'm a jogger. And he jogs about 4 or 5 miles in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's too hot. He can't do that. So he stays in good shape, and, he doesn't mind living in a one-bedroom.
He doesn't.
Not
as
at
long
all.
as... I don't think animals mind living anywhere as long as they're loved.
Well, he insists that it's a doorman building, though. He didn't want to live in a walk-up, you know?
Excuse. Well, I don't blame him. Would you live in a walk-up?
Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. When I first got him, He did not want to walk downstairs. He'd walk up, but he wouldn't go downstairs till he was older. And my friends in the country nicknamed him an elevator dog. And they were kidding him. They said, oh, he's an elevator dog, because I'd have to carry him downstairs. And then eventually, of course, he learned how to do it, you know?
Yeah.
But he's got a pretty good life. I mean...
he has a better life than a lot of humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, I have a good life, too. If I didn't have a good life, I would want to be your dog, and then you could
He's
pet
got
me.
a great, great life. A great life.
But
You know-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that if a person were considering getting a Rottweiler, is there anything that they should know, or
Yeah.
it's easier, you know,
Yeah.
like what
No,
advice would you give to a potential Rottweiler owner?
My first advice would be you've got to get the dog from a very good breeder, particularly a breeder who trains dogs with good temperaments, who are not overly aggressive. And it's really a commitment to have a Rottweiler. You've got to watch the dog carefully. You've got to be careful when you take him out on walks. People are terrified of him sometimes. And, you know, you never know. He is a dog. He does fight with other dogs sometimes, never with people. And it's a very big responsibility, big commitment. And you've got to have some upper body strength to walk a Rottweiler and hold on to him properly.
I think I'm only 4'10", and I'm afraid when he got up, he was taller than me.
Well, it'd be a little bit difficult, but you get used to it. But it's a serious undertaking, getting a big dog.
And where did you get? Where would somebody go? Just if hey, I want a Rottweiler and Dr.
Well, I tell you what I would do if I wanted a Rottweiler or any other breed.
Where would you-
If I didn't want a breed, I'd go to Bidewee or one of the other
You would,
shelters.
good,
But
good.
if I wanted a breed, I'd look for a nice one on the street and ask the person, "Excuse me, where did you get your dog?" Most dog owners are extraordinarily friendly and love when people come up and say, "Well, it's a beautiful-looking Rottweiler. Where did you
Right,
get
it's
it?"
sort of analogous to, hey, what a great haircut. Where did
Where'd
you
you
get
get
that
it?
gray
Absolutely,
hair?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I
Isn't
don't
it
get
the
you everywhere,
same?
Gladys.
Well, okay. Well, I think you're great. I do. I think you're a terrific doctor and a nice person. And
I only had to pay you $500 to say that.
meanwhile, you said to me, "I'm not coming over there. How many minutes are you giving me? I'm not taking this dog in the station wagon. Where am I going to park my car? And you better not give me 2 minutes."
I was worried about parking
I
the
want
car.
you to know I cut out a segment.
Just for me?
Yes, I did. You know who was going to be my host? Michael Jackson.
Bob Hope, I
Michael.
Michael Jackson?
No,
What
he
about
was
Lisa
doing-
Marie Presley?
Well, I mean, I prefer Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm thinking maybe he'll give her up for me, and then I'll be famous overnight.
Well, I think you're going to get good ratings with me on the show. You know, I don't think you ought to worry
Well,
about it
I
too
hope
much.
so. I want to know, will you come back?
Absolutely.
With more
I've had
funny
a-
dog stories and more jokes?
I've had a wonderful time here. It's
And
been a
I'm
lot of fun.
glad. This is the first time that I've met
Yeah, he's behaved
Chunky,
pretty well, and he's made a new friend.
And we talked about let's meet in the park. I mean, Chunky and myself, and you know. But I think it's about that time. It looks like God. This show went like lightning. And oh, look at those teeth! Oh my God! Oh, he has beautiful teeth, right? You take good care of his teeth.
Yeah,
too.
I take good care of everything.
So anyway, this has been another This is Gladys show, and we've had two fabulous guests, Dr. Ed Salsas and Chunky, of course. What a beautiful dog, and Dr. Epstein, and of course Marco. And we'll be back again next week, and we'll have some more pet talk and some more wonderful guests, and hey, maybe a couple of comics, and of course doggies. Doggies, we love doggies. See ya. Have a good week. Drive safely, and have a good life.